What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Juicy Jet podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Rooney, and it's officially draft week. We are only a few days away. I'm recording here on Monday. We're 3 days away from the first round of the NFL draft taking place on Thursday in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where your boy will be there on the ground, hopefully praying the Jets pick someone who's actually going to contribute to our team in the long term. So very excited for this week. It's probably one of the more fun weeks of the year, just like going through the whole process of seeing who the Jets are going to pick, getting through the first round. Then you see who's left available for round two, trying to anticipate who they're going to pick then. And then rounds, the third day is kind of like, all right, who are these randos that I've never heard of before that we're going to take, and trying to find as much information about them as possible. And then you come out the other side with some undrafted free agents, and you kind of know what your team's going to look like. So it's going to be very exciting, because then you just go into the offseason and it's like, okay, I see what we've got. All the ingredients are there. Is this team going to play well or not? Like, that's the big question. Do we meet the needs? Are we happy with Mougey? Are we happy with Glenn? I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but very, very excited for Thursday night. I think it's going to be a blast. It could rain. It could snow. It could be 150 degrees. I'm still going to have a good time. It doesn't really matter when it comes to the draft and you being in the theater. So very excited for that. But what I want to do today is I have a few topics. Number one, we heard from Mougey. He had his pre-draft press conference today, which is the first time we've heard him do something like that. So I'll dive into some of the things that I heard during that press conference. Talk a little bit about trade candidates. Some folks have been asking, do you think the Jets should trade back? I really want them to trade back. Let's take a look at who are some of the candidates that could trade back and whether it's realistic for the Jets to do so. Finally, we'll do a gym break. Lots to talk about with all of our favorite New York sports teams. And then we'll do a quick final mock draft. And then the next episode I'll probably try to do either tomorrow or Wednesday, with just predictions before the big day. So first, before we get into it, let's do a quick trivia question. So in the year 2009, so in April of 2009, the New York Jets traded up in the NFL draft. So my question is, what pick did they trade up to, and who did they draft? So in 2009, the New York Jets traded up in the draft, meaning closer to 1. What pick did they trade up to, and who did they draft? So we'll get back to that at the end of the episode. But let's talk a little bit about this Mougey press conference. So Mougey gets up there, and one of the first things he's done in his last few press conferences, which I've really liked, is he's giving you a behind-the-scenes look at what it's like, day in the life in his chair since the last time they talked. So he said that what they do as an org is every day is a different position. So essentially it's Aaron Glenn, him, the entire scouting department, and the coaching staff on that side of the ball. So, for example, if it was the running backs, they'll have the offensive coordinator in the room, the running backs coach, and they'll go through literally every draftable player, watch film on them, hear from every person in the room. So you hear from the analytics department, you'll hear from the scouts, you'll hear from the coach, you'll watch some more film to get a better grasp of who this player is. And then they'll kind of make the big board. They'll decide, okay, what's our rankings? And then as they eventually go through all the players, the entire big board comes together. He said from there, he's got a few other days of actual meetings where he meets with the security team to understand, hey, are there any legal problems with this player? Is there anything in the past, in his history, that we need to know about before we draft him? And then is there anything outstanding legally that they need to think about? And then the last piece is the health stuff. So talking to the doctors, seeing, hey, is everything checked out okay since the last time that we've met with this player? Do we feel that there are any lingering health concerns? And that's how they kind of piece their board together. He says he feels really good about where they're at, and he's really excited for Thursday. His first time in the GM chair. So it's going to be fun. I'm excited to see some of the background videos of how everyone interacts in that room, because we don't really know who these folks are. We haven't seen Rick Spielman and Aaron Glenn interact with Mougey, and we haven't seen some of Woody Johnson really interacting with them, besides in that one press conference where he was kind of awkward. Who else is in the room? I know we've brought on some new folks on the player personnel side, the coaching staff side. Is Tanner Engstrand in the room? So it's going to be really cool to see all that behind the scenes stuff. And the Jets usually do a pretty good job of that. So we'll see what they pull together. But yeah, I thought that was a really cool behind the scenes look at what it's like to be a GM of an NFL team. From there, one of the first questions he gets is about Aaron Rodgers. And he says, only going to talk about the people on the team and not going to talk about Aaron. We addressed it already. So great answer. I don't want to hear about the Aaron Rodgers thing. I don't want them to talk about it. So I thought they did a good job addressing that situation. From there, I think the only real big thing, like he talked about what this draft is like, the players that are in it. He feels that it's still a pretty good draft. Talked about wanting to get like resilient, tough, fast players, but like everybody wants that. Let's see how resilient you are after you have 14 years and no playoffs and you're losing. You haven't won 7 games in 7 years or whatever, or a decade. It's been a decade since we haven't won more than 7 games. It's crazy. So yeah, I thought that was all really interesting. The big piece of news, though, that came out of the whole thing is the fact that they are going to be picking up the 5th-year option of Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and Jermaine Johnson. Reminder, if you weren't on the last show, essentially the 5th-year option is if you were drafted in the first round, you sign a contract for 4 years guaranteed, and then the 5th year is an option by the team. So they can decide to pick up the option, which means you're staying for a 5th year, or they let you go, or they have to re-sign you or something like that. And you only get that option if you're drafted in the first round. So that's why you'll see like the Ravens a few years back when they drafted Lamar Jackson, traded up into the first round. I think it was like pick 32 to get him. So they got that 5th-year option. Whether he was going to be good or not, they didn't know, but at least they had the option of keeping him if he did become really good. So it works out for these first-round players, and I'm glad they picked up Jermaine. That was the one that I was a little worried about, but I think they feel pretty good about where he's at this point. So that was the big stuff coming out of the Mougey press conference. I think the next time we'll hear from him is after they draft their first player on Thursday night. So I thought that was really cool. Next, trade candidates. So I do want to talk a little bit about potential. I don't know. Like everyone always says, I want to trade back. The problem is it takes 2 to tango. You can't just say I want to trade back and then, if there's no one who wants to trade up for a player, then no one's trading with you. Like that's how it goes. And I think this draft's very interesting because there's like 5 to 6, maybe 5 blue chip players, maybe 4 blue chip players. It's like Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, Ashton Genty, Travis Hunter, of course. Those might be it from a quarterback. Like the quarterbacks aren't blue chip players. Maybe Tyler Warren you can throw in there. So there's not a lot that people are like dying to trade up for. And then it's weird, like probably from picks 10 to 15, it just feels like kind of like a no man's land kind of a thing. And then I think the draft gets very similar from 20 to probably 50, where there's a lot of good players in there that are going to be really solid starters, but they're all kind of like graded the same. So it's just like pick your flavor of what you like best kind of a thing. So I think this draft's very interesting because there's not a lot of blue chip players that some of these teams are going to be trading up for. I think if you really want to look for teams that could potentially trade up, we talked last week about the Saints at number 9. Do they want to get to the Jets pick and it's only moving up 2 spots, just because they're afraid that the Steelers might hop them for Shedeur? Or is there another team out there that's looking for a quarterback that might hop up? I don't think so. I think it's really between, if the Saints wanted to move up into our pick, I think we would do that because we're still in a pretty good spot. We could still draft Tyler Warren. We could still draft, maybe if Membu falls, he'd still be there. We could draft him. I think the Panthers and us aren't really drafting the same type of a player. The Panthers could go Ted McMillan. That could be another player that we get as well in that spot. So I still feel pretty good about moving back 2 spots. That's not a big deal to me. 21, though, if we wanted to move back to where the Steelers pick, that's an issue. Because then you're starting to get into that weird space of like, who are we taking? Like maybe we take a Mecca Ibuka as a wide receiver. If a Kelvin Banks, the offensive tackle from Texas, falls, maybe that's a place we can take him. There's some D tackles there. Colston Loveland will probably still be there. You got to nab him before some of these other teams do. So Those, I think that might be too far. I don't know how comfortable I'd be, but if it was like a big haul, if it's like your first round pick next year, second round pick this first and second this year, maybe a couple other smatterings of things, a second or a third next year as well, then sure, if you give us the big haul, then we'll do it. But that's a long way to go from 7 to 21, especially when we have so many needs across the board. So that would be a really interesting one. Otherwise, the only other teams I can really see potentially trading up, the 49ers, I think they're after either an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman. So I could see them moving up for maybe if they really badly want a Membu, or maybe they really badly want a Kelvin Banks or a Will Campbell falls. That could be really interesting. Also, Robert Saleh, obviously, as their D coordinator now, loves their D linemen. So, are there any D linemen that they're afraid are going to get scooped up before 11? Another team, too, at 12 is the Cowboys. The Cowboys looking for a running back. So, if Ashton Genty falls to 7, I do not want to take Ashton Genty as a Jets fan, even though he's an amazing player. Cowboys could be itching. Jerry's getting old. He wants to win. So, I could see him potentially trading up because the Bears might jump all over Genty, so they got to get ahead of the Bears somehow. Or a Tet McMillan. They need a number 2 wide receiver next to CD Lamb. Do they jump up just to make sure that they lock in the receiver that they want? So those are the only real options. In my mind, though, I don't think anyone's trading with us. In my mind, I think we're sticking at 7. I'd be pretty surprised if someone traded up into our spot, unless like a miracle that someone fell that we weren't expecting, like a Genty, like a Abdul Carter out of nowhere, which then causes a couple other people to fall. So there could be trickle effects, but yeah, I just don't see the Jets trading. I think we'll stay at 7 because there's just not going to be another team that's really going to want to hop up in a draft like this. And it's actually really funny. I think this is the first time in the entire draft era, the modern draft era, that every single team has their designated first-round pick. Usually you get at least one team that doesn't have a first-round pick because they traded it away from some player or they traded it away in a previous draft. So kind of weird that every single team, we'll see if someone trades out, obviously, on draft day, but every single team's got their first-round pick right now. So that's my idea of trade candidates. We'll see how it goes, but I don't see any trades. I think they'll do a lot of trading in the back half of the draft. So like moving around the 7th, 6th, 5th rounds just to get the players they want or accumulate capital for next year. Those are the only things I can think of. And then the only other trade options are there any players out there that could be tradable? For example, like Dallas Goedert is a huge trade candidate that Jets fans have been talking about. He's a little bit older, but he's a really solid tight end. Do we trade a 4th-round pick for him and pay him for 2-3 years? Potentially. Maybe a 5th-round pick. I'd probably do that if we don't get a Tyler Warren or one of these big tight ends in the first 2 or 3 rounds. But yeah, otherwise I don't see any players that we'd be trading for. Lazard is one that would be on the block. See if you trade him away. Hopefully Breece Hall is not one that's on the block, but he's one that's been talked about, so we'll see if we trade him away. So those are our trade candidates. Let's do a quick gym break before we get into the rest of this episode. So gym break, if you haven't been here before, I'm a Jets, Islanders, Mets, and a Silent K Knicks fan. Before I do that, though, I'm a big TV show watcher, so I don't know if anyone out there watches the show Last of Us. Season 2, Episode 2 was on last night, and it was probably one of the greatest episodes of TV I've ever watched. It's like goes down with like, and I felt the same way watching that episode that I did when I watched Game of Thrones during its like heyday when things were good. So I highly recommend Season 2, Episode 2 of Last of Us. It was amazing. Aside from that, I'm having a great time watching New York sports. Islanders done, so we don't have to talk about them. We could talk about the Mets, though. Mets are looking awesome. They just came off a 4-game sweep, which my brother called a mop. I don't know if that's true or not, against the Cardinals, which was a great win because they were actually playing decently well. I'm watching them now against the Phillies. This is a big series. And I saw Lindor hit the home run. He hit the walk-off a few days ago. Then Winker hit a home run. Soto just barely hit one foul. So we're looking good against the Phillies right now, but it's a close game, so we'll see how it goes. But very exciting to be a Mets fan right now, being in first place, big series on the line. Seems like the fans are all out in full force so far at Citi Field, and weather's been pretty nice for some baseball here, so that's been good. So really fun watching the Mets. Number 2, the Knicks. Knicks win their first game of the playoff series they're on right now. They were losing, but it was close. It's about halftime at this point. So I feel like we're in a good spot because we're at home. So I'm not too worried so far. It's going to be interesting to see what happens if we don't win this game at home. I feel like because the crowd is so crazy at these Knicks games, we have to win these home games. But it's nice to see everybody pretty healthy, playing. I know it's been a rough end of the stretch of the season with a bunch of folks out, so it's nice to see everybody back. So we'll see how it goes with the Knicks, but both teams looking good so far. I'm trying to think if there anything else in the sports world we got to talk about. No, I think that's it. All right, so I'm going to give us a pause real quick, and then we'll do a quick draft story, and then we'll get into a fast mock draft. All right, as you can see behind me, if you are on YouTube, I've got a screenshot of the 2018 NFL Draft. This was in Dallas, I guess Arlington, Texas, in Jerry World. So typically at all the drafts I've gone to, there's been an open air kind of theater where there's a little roof, but the whole backside is open, like there was in that Philadelphia picture from last episode. This one they did actually inside of AT&T Stadium. So you really could only go if you had a ticket. It's the only way you could see what was going on during the draft. They probably had TVs outside, but not the same. So they basically had a stage set up where fans could sit, and then the inner circle was the stuff right behind my shoulders there, where each fan base has a little section to itself. The Jets got really lucky. Me and my brother went together. We won the tickets, I think, through our Jets Rewards. And we were right along the railing of where the players walk down. So we were meeting players. We were meeting people from NFL Network, Kyle Brandt and folks like that, which was really cool. My brother's a Chargers fan. He got to see, I think it was Derwin James in this draft get drafted, and he got to dap him up, which was pretty cool. So it was a really fun time. This was a good draft. I think we went for days 1 and 2, and then the third day we kind of just hung out in Dallas because we never really were there before. So it was a great time. But let's take a stroll down memory lane here and see who the Jets drafted in 2018 to reminisce on why we were in the spot that we were in, where we have 14 straight years of no playoffs. So in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Jets it was actually a surprising pick to me, but they took Sam Darnold, number 3 overall. Baker Mayfield surprisingly goes first, Saquon Barkley goes second, and then Sam Darnold goes third. All year, everyone thought Sam was going first, and it was the suck for Sam chance, all that kind of stuff. And when he didn't, I'm like, okay, the Giants going to take him at 2? And then for me, I actually wasn't a Sam fan. I like Josh Rosen. I was totally wrong, so thank God I wasn't the GM of the Jets at that time, but we would have ended up in the same spot anyway. But Sam ends up being the pick, comes out into the crowd, takes a picture with us. It was really cool. But unfortunately, Sam doesn't work out. He goes to 3 or 4 other teams, finally has a good year with the Vikings. But I feel, and now he's on the Seahawks, I feel like he's just a quarterback where you confuse him, it's over. So I still don't think he's the talent that people were saying during the regular season, but I hope he continues to put it together because he's a great guy. I really like him, and I just don't think he was built for New York. The rest of the draft, we take Nathan Shepard, who has still hung around the NFL, which is crazy. He's been on the Saints for a while. Defensive tackle, played with us for 4 years in a backup role. He was nothing special. Chris Herndon, tight end. I really liked him, but he only lasts 3-4 years. He was out with Sam Darnold, so that was it. Parry Nickerson was hanging around the NFL for a while, but never really played for us. Foley Fatukasi, he was an awesome D tackle for us, but then we couldn't pay him, so he goes to Jacksonville, goes to Houston. I think he might still be on Houston. And then finally Trenton Cannon in the 6th round, running back. Never really made it in the NFL. So another rough one. And same thing, we had some good players, but we couldn't keep them, and especially Foley Fatukasi. He was a good one, and now we're looking for D tackles again. So rough draft. Another rough draft. All right. Now let's get into a mock draft. This will be my final mock draft before actual draft day. So let's pull it up here. All right. We got the mock pulled up here. I'm going to do a 4-round mock here. Oh, shoot. I got to go back. I clicked every team. Don't want to do every team. Just the Jets. Enter the draft. Okay, as you can see, the draft is moving along here. We got Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Armand Membu, Tyler Warren. Oh no, that's wild. Ted McMillan goes too. This is an interesting situation that I haven't been in before. Very realistic, though, that Tyler Warren does go to Jacksonville at 5. So it looks like we got some trades here. No, I'm rejecting the... I don't want to go to the Bengals pick at 17. Don't want to trade with the Seahawks and go to 18, although that's a very good haul. Definitely don't want to go to Buffalo. So we're going to stay here at 7. Dang. So no Membu, no Warren, who are the odds-on betting favorite to be the Jets' first overall pick. Now the question here becomes, do you take Mason Graham, who is the D tackle from Michigan, or do you take offensive tackle Will Campbell, who most people don't think he's going to be an offensive tackle? People think he's going to be a guard, and we already have AVT there. So do you move AVT to tackle? That's the big question. Ooh, so in my mind, I'm going to go with Mason Graham because I think he's the best player. I don't love taking the D tackle here now because I love the depth for D tackle later in the draft. So we're going to do it, see how it shakes out. So we are rolling along here. Will Campbell goes to the Bears. Shadur goes to the Steelers. They do trade up. So we did nail that one. Oh, Ashton Jetty goes to the Dolphins. Jeez, that'd be crazy. I have no faith in the Dolphins right now. I have no idea what they're doing. Sounds like they're going to trade Jalen Ramsey during the draft, even though they just re-signed him like a year ago. It's kind of wild. But, all right, let's see what we got here. Ooh, one of my favorite tackles goes off the board. 2 of my favorite wide receivers go off the board. Oh, this might be a troublesome draft here. All right, the Falcons want to trade with us, but no thank you. And the 49ers want to move back 1 pick, but I just get a 3rd next year. No thanks. I'll stay where I'm at. All right, we already got our D tackle, and of course, guess what? All the D tackles fell. So we've got Kenneth Grant, Tyleik Williams. Not going to take them, but they're amazing. Then let's see, Jalen Milroe, the quarterback from Alabama. We've got Donovan Jackson, the guard from Ohio State. Trey Harris, the wide receiver from Ole Miss. Mason Taylor, the tight end from LSU. Any tackles on the board here? Oh, I got one. All right, we're going to go ahead and take tackle. Is that what I want to do? I just want to do one more scan. Yep, we're going to do it. I'm going to take tackle. Where'd he go? Ariante Ursary from Minnesota. He visited with the Jets, can slide right into right tackle. So now we've got our defensive tackle of the future next to Quinnen Williams, and we've got our right tackle of the future to hopefully protect Justin Fields for a long time. All right, draft's moving along. A couple of good wide receivers just went off the board. Now my focus is on tight end, wide receiver, maybe another D tackle, and a safety. And we got 2 rounds to go. So we'll see what we can get and what pops up here. Jalen Milroe, the quarterback from Alabama, has not gone off the board, and we are up. I'm going to reject these trades. Oof, man. I wonder what the Jets would do in this situation with Jalen Milroe on the board. Like I said, quarterback from Alabama in the 3rd round. I could see them pulling the trigger on him just because of the upside, but I'm not going to do it. I don't think we need a quarterback right now. I'd rather spend that pick next year and see what Justin Fields has. So what I like here is we've got Jalen Royals, wide receiver from Utah State. We've got Andrew Makuba, safety from Texas. I'm liking Kyle Williams from Washington State. Jack Besh, wide receiver from TCU. Tight end Harold Fannin Jr. from Bowling Green. We need playmakers. Alec Iomaner, wide receiver from Stanford. Terrence Ferguson, tight end from Oregon. There's some really good playmakers on the board. For me, I'm really liking this wide receiver out of Washington State, Kyle Williams. So I think this is a very realistic spot for him. I've heard he's kind of moving up the board a little bit, maybe into the 2nd round, but I'm going to take him here because he's on the board. So we've got our wide receiver. Now we just got to hope for this 4th round pick, some of these tight ends fall. And if not, that's okay. We can always get a tight end later. Like I said, we could trade this 4th round pick for, there's some tight ends out there that are on the block, whether it's with the Eagles, whether it's the Raiders. They've got people that they're looking to dish out. When Jalen Milroe goes to the Browns, that's not a shocker there. All right, we're coming up. I'm seeing who's still available here. All right, we are up. This is our pick. Oof. We've got a couple wide receivers. Charles Grant, tackle from William and Mary. D tackle from Florida State. Joshua Farmer. Will Howard from Ohio State. Oh, I got a guy I really like, but is this a bad idea? I don't know. I got to think about it. Jack Sawyer, the edge from Ohio State. I don't really like him that much. R.J. Mickens, son of Ray Mickens. He went to RJ went to Clemson. Do we reunite two former teammates, Aaron Glenn and Ray Mickens, with Aaron and now his son RJ Mickens? I think it might be too early for him. So what I'm going to do, I think Jalen Reed, the safety from Penn State's realistic here. I think C.J. West, the defensive tackle from Indiana. And then any one of these wide receivers, like Torrey Horton might be a good one. I don't like Tez Johnson, so I'm not going to take him. I'm going to go with, this is a huge run stuffer. C.J. West, D tackle out of Indiana. We need some depth at defensive tackle, so I don't mind double dipping because I don't really see a tight end that I'm super excited about here. So let's do it. We're going to go with C.J. West, defensive tackle from Indiana. So essentially the only place we didn't land in the top 4 rounds, a need that we had was tight end, but we've got a good wide receiver that we can pair with Garrett Wilson. We've got our defensive tackle of the future that we can pair with Mason Graham. With Quinnen Williams in Mason Graham. And we've got our offensive tackle, or right tackle of the future with Ariante Ursary, which I think is very realistic. So for me, I would be very happy with the way that this shook out. I still think getting like that offensive tackle or tight end in the first round might be the move, but I will never say no to Mason Graham. I freaking love Mason Graham. So that is it. All right, on top of that, let's wrap this up. But the last thing that I have here is the answer to the trivia question. Trivia question was, in 2009, the New York Jets trade up. What pick did they trade up to, and who did they draft? Well, if you remember in 2009, the Jets bid farewell to Brett Favre. We also fired Eric Mangini, and Eric Mangini goes to the Browns. And what do? We end up trading from pick 17 to pick number 5 with the Cleveland Browns and Eric Mangini. And who do we take? We take Mark Sanchez, quarterback from USC. Now, what did we trade to get to number 5? This was highway robbery back in the day. I think Eric Mangini was helping out his friend Mike Tannenbaum in this situation. But essentially, we trade up to number 5 and give up our first-round pick, which is number 17, our second-round pick, number 52, and then 3 backups. Kenyon Coleman, a D-end, Abram Elam, a safety, and quarterback Brett Ratliff, who, weirdly, when I was a kid, I kind of liked. That is a steal in today's game, so I don't know how we pulled that off. And then, of course, you get Mark Sanchez, who leads us to the promised land twice, or I guess almost to the promised land. But great trade. I wish Mark Sanchez worked out a little bit better, but he took us to 2 of my most fun years of my life, being a Jets fan. So with that is the Juicy Jet podcast. I appreciate everybody listening. If you could follow me on TikTok at JuicyJet25, follow me on Twitter at KevinRooney25, and then next time I'll be talking to you, hopefully it will be either tomorrow or on the ground in Green Bay. So hopefully I've got good Wi-Fi and I can fire this up with my final predictions for round 1 and maybe the rest of the NFL draft. So thank you all. I really appreciate you listening, and we will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.